You're right on time because Orange Juice in the Kitchen is about to get started. We're your hosts. I'm Annie Graff.
And I'm Maggie Jensen. Pull up a chair because the OJ is flowing and it's about to get juicy.
We're getting deep in our convos about sobriety and mental health because that's how we've both found deep love for ourselves and the lives we live.
And when you love yourself in your life, there's nothing to escape. This is the real on how vibrant and colorful alcohol freedom feels. So grab your glass.
Cheers, besties. Let's chat. What is up, you guys? We are back with Orange Juice in the Kitchen. Get yourself a nice little sparkling water or anything that you enjoy right now because we're going to have a really awesome conversation. Okay, Maggie, I want to throw this at you, actually. Have you seen this trend on social media? It's called the butterfly effect, and people are making like reels about it and sharing all about it. Have you seen it?
No, I've seen the movie, but
Tell
me more. The butterfly effect with Ashton Kutcher. Yes. Okay. But I have to know this trend.
Okay. I actually don't think I've seen that movie. But the trend probably very similar. And it's something that, I mean, like I've seen quotes on it for years, but to see people depict their specific butterfly effect in their life and how it's kind of like literally led to the way their life panned out is so cool. So cool. Because oftentimes we go through, and this is kind of like the beginning of it, right? Something that feels traumatic, hard, scary, awful, life-shattering, heartbreaking, these like very negative things. I think it's so easy in those moments to want to escape, want to get out of that moment, want to think your world is ending.
Yeah.
But sometimes years down the road, that one thing led to something that ultimately let you arrive at where you're currently at. And I just think it's so beautiful and something that we needed to talk about today because I feel like we both have kind of experiences here. Mm-hmm. And I have one in my head, but I don't know. I love this concept of hardship not being something to escape, and hardship being an integral and essential even part of life.
Yeah. I mean, as you were saying that and you were like, most of the time hardships cue us up to like want to escape. Or what you said that actually hit deeper with me was like expecting that this was going to feel this hard forever. Mm. And that driving me to be like so terrified and like not know what to do. And then being able to look back and be like, okay, I made it through that. Like that just really struck a chord deeply with me because I think so many people get stuck not knowing this too shall pass and this could lead to something better. And kind of that whole dialogue of like, instead of why is this happening to me, what is this doing for me kind of thing. So I feel that's like the vibe of the butterfly effect trend, right?
Yeah. And it's really like being able to reflect on the past, I think, not be stuck in the past or obsessed with the past, but being able to look at your past and see, wow, okay, because that happened, that meant that I needed to make this move in my life that I would not have made if I didn't have that moment, which then connects me with this person, which then got me in this field, which then allowed me to take this opportunity, which then led to this, and to connect those dots. Because in the midst of hardship and heartbreak and grief, loss, it's so hard to detach from those really heavy emotions because they feel consuming. They feel all consuming, right? In those moments that oftentimes we forget that we've, as humans, gone through that before. We've been in those feels before, and to it's not as a means to escape that or to like discredit those things and be like, oh, well, this is just life. Like it is what it is. But like to be in that and to be like, okay, like this too shall pass. and this somehow is happening for me, not happening to me. And I think for me, this butterfly effect trend has had such like a profound effect on me, because it's been something I've kind of been really reflective on in the last few years for myself and looking back on my journey. But I think it's worth talking about because of, I think, human nature to think that life is supposed to look something else other than what it actually is in this moment. And I find myself looking back in my past being like, through these really hard moments, sitting there and being like, this is not how this is supposed to feel. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is not what I'm supposed to be going through. How me? Why me? Life, come on. Like, oh, I'm so unlucky. Oh my God, only this would happen to me. And like all these kind of very self-pitying thoughts. And in those self-pitying thoughts being like, well, okay, well, I'll just like think about in a year from now, like I will be here. I'll have my person. I'll have this thing. I'll do that. I'll have this accomplishment. I'll be past this moment, and then it'll all be better, you know? But I think like being able to connect the dots has allowed me to, because it's impossible to avoid those moments as a human. Like it really is. I think just the understanding that life is going to life, and that's the beautiful thing, it has given me like peace of mind when I'm in those moments to be like, yeah, this is happening, and yeah, I am feeling a type of way. But I know, I just have this like deep heart tug that this is going to lead to something. This is going to be a purpose. This is going to make sense down the road. And okay, we didn't even talk about this before we started the episode or anything. But I wanted to share a kind of like a really real example of this happening for me in my life, and kind of like where I see this butterfly effect being relevant. So for me, when I was in the military, I despised it. Like, it was to me like, this is an awful choice of career. How did I get myself into this? Why did I choose this? Is this going to be my forever? When can I not be here? When can I do something else? And a lot of these like very just like, I have no control. Like I don't have control of my life. I guess this is my life sort of feelings. And now being several years disconnected from that chapter of my life, it's so clear to me that in those moments of honestly resenting my current situation, that was actually a catalyst for the life I am currently living. So and to connect all these pieces, if I didn't go to the Air Force Academy, I would not have commissioned into the Air Force. I would not have been an Air Force officer, and I would not have known a sense of misalignment, I guess. I would not have known, oh my gosh, this doesn't feel right, which if I didn't have that feeling, if I think about it, if I would have been kind of like in a career that was like, meh, like, okay, I mean, yeah, I'm a journalist. I used to think like in high school, my options were like, when I was looking at the Air Force Academy, or I was applying to go to some school of journalism, to these really like prestigious schools. And I would always think back, and like when I was in the military, like, oh my God, why didn't I just do that? Like, why didn't I? And I think if I majored in journalism at a normal school that wasn't military affiliated, and if I then got a profession in journalism, I might have been like, okay, yeah, this is kind of in alignment. But because I was in a situation that was so unaligned, that created like an intrinsic desire to get out of that situation, or even to allow myself moments of like reprieve, moments of alignment within the misalignment, And that's why I got my personal trainer certification. That's why I started my Instagram page to document my journey, to get my health in check, to then start coaching clients, to then build an online business that I could take with each and every military move that I was forced to make. Because
Yeah, I was going to ask, this was while you were still in, right? Just
yeah,
feeling dissatisfied with that. You started to like think, what would make me happier, even if I am kind of quote unquote stuck in this situation.
right. And like,
Oh.
to think on it, it's like if I didn't feel that sense of stuckness, I probably would have been just okay with the okayness. And, so that deep feeling of like, I hate this, meant that I was forced to create space for something I did enjoy, which then ultimately, then you kind of see how that cycled out. Because I created that page, because I got my personal trainer certification, because I started coaching clients online, then I released a workout guide, then I developed a workout app, and then I started building that brand. And then because I had momentum in building online brands, I realized my passion for business and for being an entrepreneur. I founded another business. I got involved in other business kind of faceted things in my life. And I started to build an audience, build a community online, and start to see what that could allow me in life. I started to see the huge importance I put on time freedom and earning money in a way that I loved to allow myself to live a life that I loved, and ultimately, that's then how we connected. If you think like even a different angle there is like, if I hadn't have created my Instagram page, like we would have never connected. If I didn't have a podcast, we would have never like gotten on and had that first conversation years ago. And isn't that crazy? And like, I would not have, if I were in, again, a career that I was mad about, that I was surrounded with people that were like, okay, like they're fine. Like, I wouldn't have sought out relationships and community online. I wouldn't have sought out people that were very, very aligned with me, because I would have been kind of stuck in the mediocrity of meh, And so really to kind of tie that all together with a full bow is like, for me, it's given me, like I said, like a peace of mind that when I'm in these extreme moments of discomfort, I know I'm like, this is happening for a reason. This is here for a purpose. And I know one day I'm going to look back and it's going to make so much sense. And I think through like all trials, tribulations of the last even few years since getting out of the military, because like, that's not where the terrible, terrible life events ended for sure. There's so much uncontrollable in life and things that just I can't predict. And because I saw the way all of that played out and connected, that now I feel like whenever I'm in these moments where I'm like, this is not what I expected. This is not what I planned for. This is not what I wanted. This is not like what feels good. I'm in the back of my mind able to at least say, but I know one day I'm going to look back and understand why this is here. So let me be in this moment and let me now decide how I want to react and respond and move forward out of this discomfort and into something that feels more aligned. Maybe not more comfortable, but maybe just more right. And I think without those moments of low, 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 no, 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 we are never going to seek out what's yes,
Yeah. And I think like, first of all, I feel like rapper Annie came out there, the low, 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 no, no, no. I'm like, can that be like a affirmation song of some sort? But I think it's so true. My wheels were spinning and thinking about like how we don't really sometimes know what we want until we're stuck in a place of what we don't want for a really long time. And then that pushes us to get creative. Like something inside of you, the light bulbs had to turn on to say, okay, I'm not super excited about this military thing, but there's got to be something else.
But it wasn't even like, I think like that sentiment of like, I'm not super excited about this. it was actually even more so than that. It was, I am super unexcited about this. Like, I'm super,
Like, you knew, you were like, I'm dissatisfied AF.
yes. Like, and I think like if people get caught in that, like, oh, I'm not like super into this, but I'm not uncomfortable enough to make a change. That's where you get stuck on like years and years and years and years, just being like in this meh territory. And I honestly feel like just meh level of comfort in life is far worse than having these moments of like, this ain't it. This ain't it. Okay, let me find what might be more it. Here. Okay, now here. And I'm like, okay, this ain't it. Okay, and then we constantly level up, and I think that's how evolution happens, rather than if you're just here and you're kind of like this middle ground where you're like, this is like, there's not enough discomfort to make you step into fear and unknown and newness, that you don't seek those things out. Therefore, you do not grow. You do not change. You do not evolve. So therefore, you stay the same. And all of a sudden, it's been 10 years, 20 years. And you're like, I'm still meh on life. How is everyone feeling these things? Or like, how do I get there? It's like, sometimes we need to feel that extreme level of discomfort and dissatisfaction to know, all right, well, now I'm intrinsically motivated. I mean, because you and I both know, like, true change only happens when you truly choose it. Like, you have to choose.
Nobody can tell us to do it. It has to be self-motivated. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has to come from like a deep place of like, yeah, well, I'm no longer going to continue as I've been continuing. Some got change,
Yeah. And that's, as you were saying that, I was thinking, and I know we've talked about this before, but like, that's why I'm so thankful my drinking got to such a point that I was like, holy shit, I need to go a different direction. It was like, you are backed into a corner and you have to change because you are so dissatisfied. If it was just like, meh, kind of an issue, but I can just ignore it, avoid it, then it could go on forever. And, aside from alcohol, looking back, like, there are so many dots that connected of that was extreme discomfort, that was extreme dissatisfaction. I responded negatively to it, but ultimately that negative response got me out of it. And so, like, for me, that looked like actually being in the Air Force as well, but in a different route. Annie commissioned as an officer. I was going through the enlisted route so that they could pay for my school. The Air National Guard, went through Air Force basic training and tech school. And I remember my dad coming to graduation, and he like looked at me and he looked at my eyes and he was like, Maggie, this just isn't you. Like, I see your sparkle has diminished, but I was doing that to make people in my family really proud, make them really happy. I was dissatisfied AF. And guess what I chose to do in my dissatisfaction? Sabotage my career. Not 60 days after I got home from tech school, I was discharged for some wild behavior. And that was a rock bottom. But that was what was a catalyst for me to say, okay, that sucked. What could be better? And the opportunity that opened its doors for me was Hooters. And, being a waitress wasn't my dream, but the corporate structure of Hooters and how they would send you on corporate trainings around the world and hiring from within all the way up to the corporate office and being in the calendars and training teams, like all of this lit up my soul. And had that with the military never happened, I would have never in my wildest dreams contemplated going to work at Hooters. And after a while, as fun and authentic as it did feel, there were a lot of days if I wasn't on an opening or I wasn't going to a pageant or not doing anything that was non-waitressy, if I was just bartending or waitressing, there were times when I was walking, physically present in the building, but in my mind, am I literally just going to be a waitress forever? Is this my life? Getting people silverware and making sure their food is tasty. Like, I was so misaligned in the day-to-day activity. And again, not being aligned with it, I started feeling that meh dissatisfaction, but it wasn't enough to do anything until I again sabotaged that job. That sabotage I lived with for a really long time of like, I was a very high profile employee with Hooters and I had to step down and everybody knew it was because of alcohol. And this is again another rock bottom. But that dissatisfaction then led me to launching my online business and getting my certifications and getting my professional legitimization. And so looking back at those dots, they sucked. Like, and I'm sure in those hard moments for you too, Annie, like they suck. You feel you're backed into a corner. You can't do anything else. But it's when you are backed into the corner that your most creative ideas start to flow. And I think that for you and me is that we had this ability to believe in those ideas and say, well, I could try this in this moment. And that's how a negative dot can then connect to a growth dot, I think. And,
Yeah.
to like kind of close out a little bit, and I'll pass it over to you, close out. I think about that quote from Steve Jobs where he says, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can't connect them looking forwards. So you just have to trust and have faith that those dots will lead to something better, lead to your growth, lead to your evolution. And I know for us, those negative dots were like that catapult for us to get the ideas and believe in ourselves and believe in what to do instead.
100%. And even when you were saying your journey, like I see like that is the visual I was kind of depicting before is like, here was like, your time with the military met until it was kind of here. Then when it dipped, then you're like, okay, let's look for another route. And then here met, it dipped. It didn't go as low as this dip, but it dipped, which then incentivized you to then make another level up. And like, I think that is far more often how life looks, these ups and downs. And if we go through life like baffled at the fact that there are downs, every time we have those, we're going to be filled with fear, with uncertainty, with loneliness, and these feelings of like, why me? These like I said, the self-pitying thoughts and feelings. And, I think if we can do that connecting of the dots and we can kind of track our life a little bit, and you can realize like without these lows, there would not be the highs. Without this discomfort, this epic discomfort, I wouldn't have made this jump, this leap, this move. I wouldn't have met that person. I wouldn't have said that thing. I wouldn't have gotten fed up and, done that, whatever. And then life would have just been here. Or if we take the lows out, it's just a gap. And then what? It's like to connect the dots, we really do need those moments. And so, just message for anybody out there listening that's maybe in one of those low moments. Be in it, feel it, embrace it, understand that it is because something is happening for you. For you, not to you. Something is happening for you, and everything after this moment is dependent on how you choose to react, right? And how you choose to respond and how you choose to move after this moment. Don't move to escape. Don't move to numb and avoid and ignore. Be there and understand, yeah, this really truly is how I feel right now, and this really truly is my reality right now. But this too shall pass, and this isn't my full existence. And I think that profound feeling of there's more. If this can't be my full life, then there must be more, which means I must make another move after this moment. I think for me, that's just this constant thought I have, and it's the love of the journey, not the obsession with the destination. And just a reminder for everyone out there, you're on your own journey, and it's going to look different than every single journey that you look at around you. That doesn't make it any less beautiful. And if anything, you have the power to make it whatever you want it to be moving forward.
Yeah, and kind of just as we sign out, maybe a little journaling exercise or just a mental audit. If you're having a hard time right now, or if you experience one here in the near future, come back to this idea, this exercise, and look back, just like Annie and I did in the past 24 minutes. Look back and look at the experiences that you felt real difficulty with in the past, and find 3 good things, 3 to 5 good things. If I told you to find 10 good things, the thing is your mind would figure them out. Your mind would come up with 10 things. It would start to just pick up on things you would have never noticed. But start with 3. What are 3 good things that came from something that was really painful? Because when you're sitting in the feeling of something painful, and you are saying, you know what, I'm not going to escape, I'm going to feel these feels, those feelings are going to feel much lighter if you can understand, eventually in hindsight, I'm going to see beautiful things from this experience. That helps you free yourself and feel hopeful and feel a little bit more confident about the solutions that you come up with to respond. And so take us up on that little activity. Should be really short, but something that I know Annie and I both do, even through conversation. When we message each other, hey, I'm going through a hard thing. We remind each other to look at how this is working for us. And we want you to experience that. Be our friend, sit at our table, and do the same things with your life, because we promise this will pass and you will see some really beautiful dots connecting that make you feel grateful for this hard moment.
Yes. Sending so much love to you guys. If you enjoyed this episode, please, please, please send to a friend, post on Instagram, tag us, and we would love to hear about whatever your butterfly effect is. So that's all for this week, you guys. We will chat with you next time on the Orange Juice in the Kitchen podcast.
Signing out. Bye.